Alrighty, it's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Norm Ordez.
Hey, we got a full slate today. So interview number 3 today is Todd Newman. He is from Athletic Innovations, who have produced or makers of the Pro XT hitting systems, which is going to be kind of interesting. He's also got a great take on Parks and Rec ball versus travel ball. And so played at BYU and my hometown team, the College of Southern Idaho. You played for Skip.
I did play for Skip Walker. Skip, boy, he taught a lot about the game. He was kind of a little-known entity at the time up in Little Twin Falls, but he put together some powerhouse programs over the years.
Won a national title. 84, I believe, we won a national. He won a national title there, a JUCO title. I believe it was 84. And so College of Southern Idaho, Skip Walker, now his son Boomer has taken over the program, so it's in good hands. What was it like playing for Skip? I mean, and you had said a little-known entity at that time. I mean, he's a great baseball guy.
Well, Skip was a great baseball guy. He has great connections in the industry. So we're in Little Twin Falls, Idaho, which you think would be in the middle of nowhere. But on any given day, we would have somewhere between 2 and 3 pro scouts on the field, giving advice, teaching, either there or up in the stands. And so he had great connections, just a great baseball mind, especially in hitting it. He produced a lot of great hitters to come out of that program.
And that is true. And, I lived that as well, not only as a kid going to Golden Eagle baseball games, but my junior high math teacher, Jim Dawson, was an assistant coach there at CSI.
Yeah, kind of a funny thing. I had another gentleman ended up spending some time there as well, and then he ended up coaching at Salt Lake Community College in Utah. So he's produced some good coaches to come from him, and Skip is a rare character in himself. Very colorful in almost every respect, and he demanded respect of his players, and I think that's what helped him to turn out great ball players.
So Athletic Innovations, so you have developed the Pro XT hitting system. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the Pro XT hitting system, after playing college ball at College of Southern Idaho, BYU, drafted into the Houston Astros organization, I thought I knew a little about the game as a player, but then I had 3 sons, and going back and teaching and coaching at the travel ball level, kind of raising those boys all the way through high school around the game, I realized not only did I not know as much as I thought I might know, but teaching it is a whole different level. And what the Pro XT hitting system is designed to do is give the hitter feedback on whatever hitting mechanic you're trying to work on. So, as many of you know, you can tell a player what to do, you can show a player what to do, but until they actually feel it, until they actually feel what that feels like to keep their hands inside the barrel or hands inside the ball, or what that feels like to hit the ball at full extension, or or be on the proper bat path or trajectory of the ball. All of those things take a feel. So when they're hitting off of a tee, a single tee really does not give them any feedback. All that really that does is just allow them to hit the ball and see where it flies. A pro player really understands when a ball comes off a single tee what it's supposed to do, but a younger player really doesn't. So it's just a setup with multiple tee tops and accessories in different positions that creates a manual body check so the hitter can feel if they're doing it correctly.
And so we were talking about this yesterday. So now, how many colleges and universities are you in now? With the
we're about at 400 colleges and universities. around the country. I would say probably 10 of the top 20 baseball programs in the country use our hitting system. We have 5 major league coaches that actually came to me to buy the product. It's not something we aggressively go out and kind of put the product at the pro level, but they came to me as to utilize the product as a reinforcement tool. And probably about 15 of the top 20 fast-pitch softball programs utilize the hitting system as well. It's really built at a high-quality level, so it can absorb hundreds of thousands of swings from a durability standpoint, but it also gives you the ability to position the tee in multiple positions to give the hitter the feedback they need.
So the tee in its current state, how long did it take you to develop this?
Oh, boy. I think one of the first times I was coaching my son in travel ball, I'm sitting over working with the pitchers, and I'm looking over at the boys working out on the tee, and I'm ready to pull my hair out because I'm saying, keep your hands up. Don't drop your hands. Stay inside. I'm giving all this verbal instruction, and it's driving me crazy knowing that they're having all of these swings that are improper are really just leading to negative muscle memory. And so I just started thinking in my head, well, maybe I'll just start with 2 tees and put one behind the other, or one on the inside, one on the outside. And from that, it started clear from plywood and pipe in our garage to now we have over 25 to 30,000 tees out there nationwide. We've licensed our product to Skills, so you can either get it on skills.com, you can go to athleticinnovations.com. There's lots of places that you can get the Pro XT now. So it started about 9 years ago now, is when we started working on that product.
So let's change a little bit here. Let's chat about your pro career. So you pitched a season in Auburn. And what do you remember most about that season?
Well, that was just a dream come true. I was a little left-handed pitcher at BYU, played some outfield as well, but really was drafted as a pitcher in the 21st round. That year was an amazing draft year. The number 1 pick that year was Ken Griffey Jr.
Wow.
The number one pick that year for the Houston Astros was Craig Biggio. So those are 2 guys that kind of stand to mind. Now, I'm not sure the number pick, but a high round draft pick for the New York Yankees was Gerald Williams, and so or Bernie Williams. So
right.
he was drafted that year. He played for the Oneonta Yankees. I was in Auburn and pitched against Bernie several times. I had a very good year that year. It was just that New York Penn League up in kind of the upper Finger Lakes region of New York is just a great place to play baseball. All those little towns are just crazy about the game and turn out to support their community and just had a ball. And unfortunately, at that year, I'd thrown about 225 innings, and by the end of the year, it was back in those days where they really didn't do a lot of management of the arms and went a little bit long and ended up having rotator cuff surgery at the end of that year. And so that, for the most part, ended my pro career.
Wow. So Bernie Williams. So who else have you faced? So if you had to, say that you faced, the toughest hitter you faced, would it be Bernie or somebody else?
Bernie at the time, was a pretty good hitter.
He was advanced.
You just worried about him getting on base, but because he could run. But that team, I always had great outings against that team. But Matt Williams, pitched against him mainly in college. That year in the Auburn League, I think Gerald Young was on that same team with the Yankees, and try to think who else made it to the big leagues that people might be familiar with. there are others that made it, but those are probably the standout names.
So you were drafted in 21st round. How did you? It's different now. How did you find out you were drafted?
I was just out mowing the lawn on the morning of the draft, thinking that, oh, this is not even possible. It wasn't on the radio. It wasn't on TV. And my wife actually came out and says, hey, there's somebody on the phone that's a scout that wants to talk to you. And that's how I found out. I was definitely not a prospect at the time. I think the difference is during one of my college games, scout came and he watched me 3 times, and I think in those 3 times I had about one game was against Notre Dame and I struck out 20.
Wow.
And the next time he watched me was against UNLV and I struck out 15. And the next time he watched me, it was against New Mexico during a playoff game, and I struck out about 14. So I had pretty good success while he watched me in it, and that was what it took to get drafted.
So who was the coach at BYU at that time?
The coach was Gary Pullins.
Okay.
He's in the Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He was a great guy to play for. Kind of a character as well. Great promoter of the game.
A baseball legend. I mean, I know growing up in Idaho, I mean, yeah, you heard about him, and he was a baseball legend in that area. And so as is Skip Walker.
Yeah, Gary served on many of the national committees for the NCAA. Was great in developing, today's game the way it is at the college level.
Right. Let's take a little bit of time and chat about, we got a few more minutes here. Let's chat about, you've got an interesting take on Parks and Rec baseball versus travel ball. And now you've said that your boys played travel ball. I have just finished up my 20th year with the McMinnville Parks and Recreation working Parks and Rec ball. And I'm not a big proponent of travel ball, and neither are you.
Well, I think that was really interesting. I was just in a conversation with a mother about a half an hour ago about her son in travel ball. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the competition is better when these boys, and don't get me wrong, I coached all 3 of my boys through travel ball. But the challenge is these kids can play 85 to 55 to 85 games during the year.
That's too many.
And they'll get marginally better. They might get burned out, which we do see in a lot of really good athletes that are 14, 15 years old. They take this heavy schedule and they're gone during holidays. Most often is when these tournaments are played. They don't get a lot of spare time, and all they do is play games. So their development can actually, they get better, but coaches need to remember that practice at the game of baseball, the skill development that takes place really develops on the practice field every bit and maybe more so than it does during a game. I think from a general perspective, community rec versus travel ball, what we're seeing would be fairly obvious to most listeners. If a father or a coach is highly engaged in the game, they move up and they start coaching the travel ball teams, which very much specializes those players. And then down at the rec level, we just see very few coaches with skill level to not only teach the players the right skill, but also just to make the game fun for kids. And that's the single most important thing I think can happen, is we got to make this game fun for kids. You go out there and pick dandelions and you're not having fun. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's just not fun. You're not going to, you're going to go play Xbox 360. You're going to think of something else to do unless this game is fun to be around. Right.
I have a buddy who owns a gym out here. His name is Frank Baumholtz. His grandpa was Frank Baumholtz, who played with the Cubs, the Reds. He coaches baseball over at Newburgh High School, not too far from here, and he was telling me he took a team of middle schoolers years ago to Cooperstown, New York, to play in a Cooperstown tournament. And he had a loaded team. And so we're talking 6th, 7th, 8th grade kids. High school ball, there was only like 2 kids off that team that ended up playing high school ball. The rest of them got burned out. And you're absolutely right. We have the same problem here in McMinnville. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against travel ball. I don't necessarily like it, because I'm a Parks and Rec guy, and travel ball takes some of our better players. And so our baseball is a little bit watered down compared to what JBO is. And, 55, 85 games, man, that's too much for an 11 and 12-year-old as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it also might be playing into some of the arm troubles that we're seeing later on with a lot of these players. I mean, these guys have pitched, and there's not the regulations involved when you go to these tournaments with travel ball. They put typically an inning restriction, and then they put a daily rest restriction. But, hey, if a kid struggled that day and he threw 35 pitches in 3 innings, that's 90 pitches that he threw in 3 innings. That's a full ball game for a lot of major league players.
Right.
So they don't operate by pitch counts, and these guys are trying to throw harder velocities. At the Super League level, they tend to throw breaking stuff much more often. And so and you just have coaches that winning becomes more of a part of the game than developing. And so the development of the player is cast aside for the sake of a championship in that tournament. And I think we do see a lot of kids with injuries earlier on.
Oh, definitely. So I have with me Todd Newman, Athletic Innovations. Hey, is there a website that we could find you at?
Yeah, it's athleticinnovations.com. So just athletic innovation with an S on the end, athleticinnovations.com, and that'll take them right to the website.
Perfect. And I know that you and I've tried to get you on the show a while back. I took some time off. My father passed away in March, so we took a little time off. And you've always been on my mind because we've had a couple of great conversations. I would love to have you come back on and get into more of the rec ball versus the travel ball with you on another show.
Well, absolutely love to do that, Norman. My condolences to you for your father. My father passed away this last year as well. And, our dads have been, in my case, was just a huge mentor to me to be around the game of baseball and to enjoy it. So.
And baseball for me, this has been my most important year with the Parks and Rec because of the healing factor that baseball has had. Like I said, it's been pretty amazing. 20 years with the McMinnville Parks and Rec. This year was, I think, the best season by far. And it's funny on just how people come into your lives, just for a single reason. And, we had a couple of the supervisors that were there for the first time. They're probably never going to work for us again. And just in the right place at the right time. Baseball is a great game. And, it's nice to talk with other people who have the passion. And I appreciate it. And once again, we will have you on another show.
Love to do it, Norm.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Have a good afternoon.
Hey, you too. Thank you.
All right. Once again, Todd Newman, athleticinnovations.com. Man, we got our JBO program here in McMinnville is really taken off. And, I can't tell you how many kids we have lost at the Parks and Rec level, but it seems like that our baseball is so watered down now. We got major league level at our majors level, which is generally 11, 12-year-olds. And so we're talking 4th, 5th, 6th graders. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's not as good as what it should be. And it's because of, our some of the better players leaving to go play JBO. Some of them come back. They figure out that JBO is all political, and which is kind of sad too. So once again, we are sponsored by Baseballism.com. Check them out. Wear the flag man. Baseballism.com. Base by Pros. Mitch Canham, former Oregon State Beaver. Basebypros.com. Chris Gazelle up in Washington, Vancouver, Washington. Baseball Dudes Innovators.com. To be the best, you must train like the best. Mark Canham, good buddy of mine. Mitch Canham's dad, MDM Design. If you need any shirts, hats, or anything, give Mark a call. And YamhillToday.com. We stream live on YamhillToday.com. And if you want to advertise, get in touch with me, normbo18@gmail.com. You know what? We'll work out a deal. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetarily, but, you know, let's talk. Clubhouse Chatter, you can find us on Twitter. Find us at Facebook, Clubhouse Chatter with Norm. We're on YouTube. And clubhousechatter18@gmail.com is our email. We will be back with Shrek. So Kevin Minch, former Texas Ranger, the dude has a size 8, wears a size 8 hat. He's got a huge melon. Great guy. You don't want to miss Kevin Minch. Thank you.